Hey everybody, it's the 20th of September, 2020. My name's Jay Johnson. I'm here at the congregation here in Royal, Illinois. We're talking about the kingdom of heaven, and there's a passage. It's a really cool passage. It talks about the meaning of the kingdom of heaven, and this is in Matthew chapter 13. And Jesus is telling 7 parables. And he talks about what the entrance into the kingdom of heaven, it's a gift. It's a gift that he gives to us. I'd like to tell you this story about a man named Mridul. Now, Mridul, this was in a land in the Far East. And Mridul, he was a citizen of one country, but as an electrical engineer, he worked in this other country. And there was a really small kingdom. But he went to this kingdom, and he really liked being there. He just really got along well with the people. And his job was to set up these electrical stations and a lot of complicated technical stuff. But he spent some time there, and he got to know a lot of the people, and he really liked them. And he was so well loved, and this is actually true. He was so well loved that he met the king. He met the king of that country, and actually I'm not sure how the details were, but he ended up going to the palace, and he made friends with the relatives of the king, and pretty soon the king met him, and they got along really well. Well, this man, his name was Mridul, and Mridul, he decided, I'd like to live there. He said, I'd like to buy a place there and just live in this kingdom. And he was told, well, you can't buy it. You're not a citizen. You can't, no foreigners can live in this kingdom. He said, but I've been working here for these years. And they said, yeah, that's because you're a worker here, but you're not a citizen here. So you really can't live here. You can come and visit, but you can't stay. You can't build a house here. And even the king said, I'm sorry, but that's the rules, and you're not allowed to live here unless you're a citizen of the country. And so he said, can I live near here? And the guy said, yeah. And so he just went just beyond the border, and he bought a piece of property, and he built a house, and he was right next to the kingdom, right there. I mean, he could walk out of his house, and he had a passport, he could cross into this kingdom, but he couldn't be a citizen of that kingdom. It just wasn't possible. The man, he accumulated a lot of wealth. And he was very, he had a lot of means. And then something happened. One day he got his wife, she got really sick, and they found out that she had cancer. And obviously this man, he loved his wife very much. Took her to a hospital and to doctors and to medics, and he spent lots of money trying to cure her. But she was still sick, and her condition got really much worse. And over time, he ended up selling much of what he had. He sold his house, and he had to move into another place. He downsized, kept getting harder and harder to live, and pretty soon he had next to nothing left, and all he had left was just a small apartment. And he was out of money. And all he had left was one vehicle that he would use to travel around. And he thought, well, when this money is gone, he said, I don't know what else I can do. But I mentioned he was a Christian. But what was he doing now? As his funds were diminished and he was beginning to run out, his life of prayer went way up. You see, when he had all those finances, he did lots of things. He was well known, appreciated by the king of that other country, but he had put a lot of his trust in his finances. When his funds were depleted, his faith rose and his prayer life rose. And as it turned out, as he was down on his last bit of money, they were praying diligently, knowing that what could happen and was likely to happen, his wife was going to pass away. And they were touched by a miracle. And this man said that he couldn't believe that it was when all of his money was gone and his faith was at its greatest, that the Lord touched his wife and she was healed. Now, some people say that's a really sad story because, gee, it's too bad. Why could not God have healed her first, and then he could still have his finances and his wife? Well, that's not the way God did it. God knew what was most important. You remember that story about Abraham? And Abraham was asked by God to sacrifice his son, Isaac. And in the end, his greatest joy was the fact that his faith was proved. So I mentioned that to all of you. I'm not sure what the issues are in your life that's going on now. But this parable, it's one of 7 parables in Matthew chapter 13. 3 of those parables talk about the kingdom of heaven. God wants us to be drawn closer to him through our life of prayer. I don't want you to have to go through great suffering, but sometimes it takes a great suffering for our faith to deepen. And when our faith deepens, that's when our spirits begin to soar and to trust more. I'd like you to read those passages if you will. If you would, we're going to be having check out the video. We just had a little message about our Mission Festival Sunday, which is right about this time. So go see the other video if you want another couple of examples about what it means to have that pearl of great price. The pearl of great price is the faith that God wants us to have. Thanks for coming. It's an honor to have you here. Take care, and hope to see you next time. Bye now.